when it comes to real truth-telling coverage, in my opinion, of Tennessee football, I don't think anybody does it better than Caleb Calhoun of allfortennessee.com. I mean, you know that I think that a lot of people cover the Vols with orange-colored glasses. I mentioned the orange and white report. Every one of them picked the Vols to cover this past weekend. Every single one of them picked the Vols to cover. Boy, oh boy. Didn't turn out that way. Caleb Calhoun of allfortennessee.com, though, has some pretty good takes on it. And I guess to start off with, I mean, I want to tell you about what I think this game against ETSU means for Johnson City, means for the Tri-Cities. But Caleb Calhoun, I want to ask you your opinions of the Tennessee Volunteers. Did you see anything that made you say, yeah, this won't be a long season for the Vols?
Well, there were two big things that really stood out on Saturday that I didn't expect to stand out. I wasn't surprised by the struggles in the secondary. I think we all saw that coming. And I should have seen the struggles coming on the outside parts of the offensive line because of all the shifting that was going around in fall camp. What really shocked me, though, was the lack of pass rush from the edge rushers. You know, I really thought Jonathan Congo and Darrell Taylor on the outside would be much more effective. And also, Brandon Kennedy at center. The other linemen have excuses, but Brandon Kennedy is an experienced center in a pro-style offense coming from Alabama, and he was awful.
Yeah, I even tweeted out in my snarky little way that when I saw Brandon Kennedy get beat on that, I think it was the very first play of the game, I said maybe Nick Saban was trying to be nice to Brandon Kennedy by keeping him on the Alabama bench. I mean, it was, you're right. I mean, and this was a guy that was getting called out. When do you hear offensive linemen, unless it's a left tackle who just, is totally beat or something, when do you hear a center is called out for poor blocking? I mean, you got to be bad.
They may be called out for bad snapping, but they're never usually called out for poor blocking. And I agree, it was bad.
Yeah, I looked at that, and I mean, I don't think anybody except maybe the most cockeyed optimists were surprised that West Virginia won. I did have Chris Anderson of earsports.com on here on Friday, and he thought that the Vols would cover, but here's where I'm really, oh boy, Tennessee, he predicted 40 points for West Virginia, but he picked 31 for Tennessee and for them to cover. And I understand, I mean, this especially being Tennessee, this isn't Vegas, I mean, half the people watching have not bet on the game, so, you got to consider that too, but that wasn't what UT did. I mean, they were 17 points shy of that against a team that people did not think was very good defensively, and they were totally outclassed. A question I have, do you think it's time for Keller Christ?
Well, I know they're going to give Chris a shot this weekend. I think they should give him a shot on the field. I do. I thought Chris should be the starter from the beginning, but at the same time, I want to be careful here not to put this on Jared Garantano. I mean, again, going back to that first point with Kennedy, I mean, what the heck was Garantano supposed to do right there? You know what I mean? And I thought he did as well as you possibly could given the circumstances, because at the pass protection on the outside was bad too. I don't blame the pass protection on the outside because Drew Richmond moving over to right tackle, Trey Smith moving over to left tackle from guard. There was just a lot of inexperience on the outside. So I understand why Garantano was under duress throughout a lot of the game, but given what he was dealing with, he still did, to be fair, Garantano completed 76% of his passes, and he didn't throw an interception. He did have a touchdown pass. So I thought Garantano, given the circumstances, played as well as anybody could have. I think if Keller Christ were in there, it would have gone just as bad on Saturday.
The only thing that I would say is that Garantano has convinced me that he is a dink and dunker. And that's why there aren't that many, interceptions and all this. If it gets real tough, he's going to tuck it under his wing. And I don't think you win that way. That's
but
my...
That was Chris was on for too when he played at Stanford, remember?
Well, Chris is more of a pro set guy now. I do have that thing. Well, Stanford is a quarterback But I'm looking at a guy in Guarantano who's basically done nothing. I mean, and I gotta say, in his entire career at Tennessee, he's produced 9 touchdown drives in 7 games. That's it. And you put him up against the ETSU's Logan Marky, for instance. Marky, when he was at Temple in half a season, had 9 touchdown passes, not drives, touchdown passes against FBS competition, including Notre Dame, including South Florida and such. I said it at the start of the show, Caleb Calhoun, you can quote me all you want. As long as Keller Chris stays on the bench, ETSU will have the better quarterback in the game this Saturday, and I truly believe that. What do you think?
Well, again, we've kind of talked about this in the past. I've always thought you were kind of a little bit unfair to Guarantano. I mean, I said last year, yeah, he was, because you always talked about Nathan Peterman being set up to fail against Florida in 2013, and nobody was set up to fail more than Guarantano last year when they threw him in.
Okay, but don't you eventually do something like produce more than 10 points and a half against Southern Mississippi? Don't you punch it in from the 1 against South Carolina? Don't you do something other than get beat by Kentucky and Vanderbilt? That's the thing. I mean, yeah, Peterman was thrown to the Wolves, but he didn't have a second chance. We're now on 6 second chances for Guarantano, and there isn't a whole lot there.
Well, let's be fair here. Let's not forget Josh Dobbs his first year with Tennessee. Remember how awful Dobbs was when he started the final 5 games of the year? I don't think he was able to produce more than 2 touchdowns.
I understand that. I mean, I have to look at the records and such. I get that. And Dobbs was thrown to the Wolves at the end of the year, and such. And but I know some people were very, optimistic about what they saw with Dobbs. For that matter, there were a lot of Steeler fans that were. I was optimistic about Dobbs after Carolina. I thought it was the best time I'd ever seen him play. I mean, on this past Thursday. But getting back there, I just, we're now into year number 2, and what do we have with Guarantano? We have a 16-play, I hand the ball off until Ty Chandler gets hurt, drive for a touchdown in the second quarter. I think Keller Chris can do that.
Oh, I agree. I don't think things would have been any worse with Keller Chris on Saturday. I'm just not sure he could have been any better, because I'm not sure what Chris could have done more. I think part of it, too, is you wonder how much, Guarantano is limited by the coaches, because we heard all offseason that Guarantano had the bigger arm than Chris. So why are they having Guarantano be more the dink and dunker when he's on there? For instance, like on those 2nd and 2, there was at least 2 2nd and 2, 3rd and 2 plays where Calhoun called like a quick horizontal screen, and I'm thinking, your blockers aren't playing well today. I don't know if this is the smartest move for you right now. And so I wonder if they just, you wonder with Butch Jones last year and with Tyson Helton, at least at this first game, if they haven't given Guarantano the chance to show his big arm. Now, I will say that I would believe, and this is hard to say because Guarantano did complete 76% of his passes, but Chris is probably a little more accurate and quicker with his release because of his experience. That probably plays better this year, which is why I said Chris should start. That plays better this year with an offensive line that is learning a pro-style offense. And the one player who does know the pro-style offense was the worst blocker on the field on Saturday. and so that probably works more for Chris. But I think it's a little unfair to Guarantano because I don't think anybody has dealt with worse as a quarterback starting for Tennessee early on than Guarantano. And from what I've seen from him, he still looks better than Eric Gaines looked in 2005, and then Eric Gaines turned it around in 2006.
Well, let me just say, obviously the jury, so I'm throwing out, I think Marky, his body of work has been better than Guarantano's. I'll give you this.
There's no doubt about that.
Marky threw for 245 yards against Notre Dame in his debut at Notre Dame. Okay, this wasn't Notre Dame giving Temple, a free game at Lincoln Financial and then enjoying a trip to see the Liberty Bell for their players. No, it was in South Bend there, and he threw for 245, which isn't tremendous, but I had the beat writer for Temple when Marky was named the starting quarterback of ETSU, Caleb Calhoun of allfortennessee.com on the show, and he was saying, yeah, we thought he was good. I mean, he impressed us. Guarantano has never thrown for 245 yards in a game with the Tennessee Volunteers. And by the way, that's only the 6th highest yardage total in Marchy's 8-game career. So I believe that Marchy will be asked. I mean, his idol is Brett Favre. I think he's going to be asked to spread the offense out more. And yeah, when you start wondering about, well, they've got a starting corner that was a wide receiver not that long ago, is this an opportunity? That's the question. I understand it would be an upset for the ages if ETSU were to beat Tennessee, even as down as Tennessee is, because ETSU really isn't all that good either. It would be even bigger than, say, when Memphis beat Tennessee or North Texas State in 75. But I'm just going to ask you this. If that 1%, which I think is what the analytics people say is the odds, if that happened, is Randy Sanders, the head coach of ETSU, coaching Tennessee on September 15th against UTEP? That's my question.
Oh my gosh. I don't think any Tennessee fan really wants to turn the clock back towards Randy Sanders. I could be wrong on that, but I think the rumors of 2005 are still fresh in their mind.
If he wins that game, think about this. I mean, I know that that's a 1% chance. The analytics people say 1.5% chance for ETSU. But think about this. I mean, if that were to happen, Mike Rader is calling the plays, assuming he doesn't go down with them to Knoxville. I mean, how soon would it be that, why do we have the guy that called the plays in the national championship game at ETSU? Just I mean, in theory.
Okay. That is a fair point. I will say Randy Sanders. I remember watching that national championship game. I didn't think his play calling was all that great in that title game. There were a couple of things he did right, but that was everybody forgets that national championship game was one of the ugliest. If it wasn't for the fact that it was the national championship, it would have been considered one of the ugliest games ever played.
Yeah, Florida State with the backup quarterback fumbling the ball away on the last drive and all that. Yeah, I get that. Of course, you always have Martin DePrice. Martin DePrice is the thing of beauty. I mean, Martin DePrice,
that was a beautiful one.
Yes, that was the thing. That's what you take from it. I mean, and that's to a Vols fan what the Immaculate Reception is to a Steelers fan, or what, I don't know, the Sea of Hands is to a Raiders fan, or the Holy Roller, something like that.
By the way,
what?
That's just pretty much what Peerless Price did. I don't know if any receiver who ever came up more in big moments in Tennessee history than Peerless Price.
There you go.
You look at every ranked team they beat that year. Peerless Price had a touchdown reception, and that's incredible. So that's an incredible stat. Actually, I think that every winning team, every team with the winning record that Tennessee beat that year, Peerless Price had a touchdown reception, which is always an amazing stat to me.
We're talking to Caleb Calhoun of allfortennessee.com, and since I am in the Tri-Cities, I mean, I'm going to be the ETSU guy, and I am going to ask this. Admittedly, these things may have been in the works already, but Appalachian State, when they beat Michigan, that paved the way for them being a Sun Belt team. Same thing when Georgia Southern defeated Florida. I've even theorized, although the people at the writers in Charleston tell me I'm nuts, if the Citadel could think of the same thing after they defeated South Carolina 3 years ago, especially if Charleston gets their own bowl. However, I want to ask, in your opinion, do you think that ETSU, if they were able to shock the world, could make a similar stride as a football program?
I don't know those kind of details on how they make FCS jumps. I know what's difficult with that is the programs you're talking about, I know have been long-standing FCS schools, and I know that ETSU just started, 5 years ago?
They started 3 years ago. Unless you want to make the announcement, they played their first game and lost by 40 points to Kennesaw State, who was also playing their first game, incidentally, just in 2015. And that was when you sort of said, this might not go the way we had hoped there at Tennessee, here at ETSU.
I do know that those things can have a splash. I mean, one of the ones that I remember the most was Troy when they upset Mississippi State way back in 2001, and that was a bad Mississippi State team, but it seemed like it was enough to move them into Division I right after that. into FBS.
Well, see, here's the thing. Being a Tri-Citian, I have always resented the fact that to a lot of people, what the Tri-Cities are is a place to go to the bathroom between Knoxville and Roanoke, but it has a racetrack. And to a lot of people, that's what the Tri-Cities are. And my feeling is that if, ETSU could win this football game, that it would have repercussions in this community. It would change the total perception of how ETSU is looked, and for that matter, how the Tri-Cities looks at themselves. I really and truly believe that is what. Now, we're talking about a 1.5% chance, according to the analytics. But, I said this at the beginning here, Caleb Calhoun of allfortennessee.com. What makes it difficult for an ETSU fan is there probably is no time in Tennessee's history where they were more ripe to be beaten by an FCS team. And it just is that, ETSU has been bad for 3 years, and they probably, despite the fact that I think they'll have the best quarterback on the field, they probably don't have a team that is realistically going to stay with them. That's the pain.
There's also a little bit of history here because, just to give you a rundown, when I was living in Memphis, obviously, in 1996 when the Tigers upset Tennessee. And by the way, Memphis was part of the TSU system that involved Middle Tennessee, ETSU, and West Tennessee back in the day. It used to be called West Tennessee State University before they changed it to Memphis State University. And all the team's colors were blue and gray, by the way, to signify the unity at the end of the Civil War. The blue soldiers and the gray. That's why the Tigers colors are blue and gray.
Yeah, because Tigers aren't blue. But no, I was not aware of that. But thank you. That's fascinating.
Yeah. And so Memphis was part of that system. So anyway, that's just an interesting bit of history. But the Tigers did obviously beat Tennessee in '96 when Tennessee was a top 5 program with Peyton Manning. And I got to tell you, Memphis still never got anything out of it. 2 years later, they were 2-9, and it wasn't until 2003, 8 years later, that they went to a bowl game, and that only happened after D'Angelo Williams fell out of the sky in the Tommy West blast, and half the Conference USA got depleted and got really weak at that point. The Tigers stopped playing tough out-of-conference teams.
That's intriguing and all this. I mean, UTEP never really got anything out of beating BYU more than 30 years ago, and that was considered to be, I think that was even bigger than, say, Appalachian State beating Michigan, because at the time BYU was a defending national champion, and UTEP, that was the only game they won, okay? So, I mean, you had up-and-coming Appalachian State versus a Michigan program that was coming down. Still need to block kick to do it, but you're getting the point here.
That Michigan team, though, they were thinking national champion that year, remember? Because they whined and cried all season about not being able to play Ohio State for the title the year before.
Possibly, but the thing about that team was that it was like Florida State last year. They were just overrated.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, so
and we're seeing that in the NFL. Mike Hart nor Chad Henne never really panned out.
Sure.
At all.
Sure.
At the next level.
Well, what do you got coming up on allfortennessee.com? If I am looking for... I want to ask this, though, before I let you go and ask that. So forgive me here. We'll get to what's coming up. But do you think that this game, ETSU and UT, could be bigger for Northeast Tennessee than the Battle of Bristol? Because the Battle of Bristol may have been a location, but it didn't deal with a team from the Tri-Cities. This is the first time ETSU has ever attempted to play the mighty Vols. If they can hang with them, what does that mean? It means that there's something more to this area than just a racetrack, in my opinion. What do you think? What do you think would be... do you think that this game is bigger for Upper East Tennessee than even the Battle of Bristol was, considering all the out-of-towners also that were coming in to the Battle of Bristol?
It may be bigger for the locals there. I can't really speak for that because I never really obviously lived in Northeast. Knoxville is the furthest east I ever lived.
Okay.
And so I couldn't really speak for that. I would obviously say that the Battle of Bristol had way more of an impact on the sport as a whole. I've said forever that Tennessee, even before that game, that Tennessee and Virginia Tech, if Tennessee should ever have had a natural rival, it should have been Virginia Tech. And Virginia Tech should be the next team to join the SEC, by the way.
Right.
And
Assuming they want to. Do they want to break off from, the ACC and Virginia and so on and so forth? Assuming they want to. If they get for West Virginia to come in with them, that might change some things. But yeah, I mean, there's a big assuming they want to, that sort of thing.
Right.
But yeah.
The thing that would work for Virginia Tech joining the SEC is they would have a direct pipeline that into the DMV area that nobody else has in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's talking about this, but I've been saying this forever up here in Maryland. Maryland produces a lot of NFL talent, the DMV does, that they get overlooked on the recruiting trail because the high school coaches aren't as high profile here as they are elsewhere. But if you go and look at NFL rosters, it's loaded with talent from this area.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that's one of the big things that's one of the big reasons that the Battle of Bristol would have been bigger between Tennessee and Virginia Tech is because those two schools fight like heck for the pipeline into this area. Tennessee's really lost it ever since Bill Fulmer left. But they used to have a pipeline up here that no other SEC school has.
Well, the thing, though, I'm going to tell you, if you look at this game, if you've got skepticism about Phil Fulmer as an athletic director, I say look at who his hand-picked choice was to be the head coach at ETSU. It was Carl Torbush. Torbush went 11-22, and as I said at the start of the show, Caleb Calhoun, it was exactly the sort of guy that you would expect someone who hadn't been in college athletics in a while to choose, someone that was prominent when Fulmer was prominent, but at the time was the linebackers coach at Liberty. Didn't work out. Well, now, hires in Jeremy Pruitt. It's a coordinator. It's a guy who took orders from Nick Saban. He'll be asked to do the same thing to Phil Fulmer. And I just, we're seeing these press conference quotes, and I'm not sure that the English literature professors at Tennessee are going to be all that happy about them. That's all I'm going to say about that. Yet, anyway, just know what is coming up on allfortennessee.com.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about tomorrow, like the overreaction to the game last week. I think a lot of people had some overreactions, and it's indicative to me of the whole season. I mean, I still say, and this is my hot take of the day, I don't care what happened this past weekend, I still say the SEC's in a down year this year.
Really? Wow.
Yes. I say that, I agree with you that Georgia, South Carolina will decide the SEC East, but it decides the SEC East by default, because I think the East is garbage this year again. I think Georgia's got a lot of young talent, but it's going to take some time to gel. And I don't think anybody else in the division is good. I think in the West, I think that Auburn may be the one team that is shockingly better than I thought. I don't read anything into LSU Miami yesterday because, yeah, people give Ed Orgeron credit, but we know that Mark Richt is the worst big game coach imaginable. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was something had to give between the worst coach period and the worst big game coach yesterday's game.
I'd say that I would like to think. By the way, Matt Canada, Maryland. I mean, I was reading stories in Deadspin. Maryland should have dropped the football program this year. Yeah, if you do that, you're getting kicked out of the Big Ten. That's not happening. I hear the same thing. Kansas should drop football. Yeah, they get kicked out of the Big 12. ETSU dropping football actually got them kicked out of the SoCon. And I think that if anyone's paying attention, then they can see how detrimental that would be to any of those two programs if they did that. But your thoughts on Maryland beating Texas this week? That was unforeseen. Is Maryland a sleeper?
Oh, it's funny because up here we've talked about for years how, like, for the reasons I just gave you, how Maryland is a sleeping giant in college football. And, I don't know what's going to happen with D.J. Durkin, but he has been recruiting well and getting a lot more local talent in the area. And remember, this team beat Texas last year. Maryland had we talk about the medical staff at Tennessee. Maryland, and unfortunately, I hate to bring this up because we kind of saw firsthand how bad the medical staff is this past offseason. But Maryland has been known to never be able to stay fully healthy. And people think it was the program being cursed. But now, after what happened with the horrible death of Jordan McNair, I just think that they had one of the most incompetent training staffs you could ever imagine. And so I think Maryland could be a sleeper if they stay healthy. And I think I'm with you. Me and you talked about this. I think Matt Canada is a significantly better coach than people realize.
Yeah, I mean, look what he did with Nate Peterman. who's now starting with the Bills. I mean, yeah, look at that. Matt Canada. Him or Durkin, there's not even a comparison along this for me. Anyway, all for Tennessee's Caleb Calhoun. Again, I think it is one of the best websites out there covering the Tennessee Volunteers. And yes, if you like that sort of see-through the orange-colored glasses profile of the Vols, there's always Billy Williford over there. But anyway, Tri-City Sports Now, a final thought. They got baseball games are being played. It is Labor Day, coming back after this. All right. There you are.